What if I told you that this 360 camera has a feature that could save your entire shoot? If you happen to crack or damage one of the two lenses on this camera, you don't need any tools or pro-level support to fix it. You just twist it off and replace it with a fresh lens. So this is one of many features on the new GoPro Max 2 that changes everything for 360 cameras. I've been putting this camera through its paces for the past week. So let's see what's new on the Max 2 compared to the original Max, and also some light comparisons to the DJI and Insta360 competitors, but I'll save the full detailed comparison for another video. But before we dive in, let me disclose that GoPro sent me this camera to test out, but they are not paying me money to make this video, none of these guys are, and they're also not reviewing it before it goes live. If you're unfamiliar with this camera, it's been 5 years since the original GoPro Max 360 camera first came out, and now we finally have a new flagship 360 camera from them. It's been a long time coming. It's waterproof to 16 feet underwater without a special dive case, and because it shoots 360, it's ideal for capturing action because you can just shoot from one angle, but pick your shots in post-production. So that does mean that you do spend more time editing this camera's footage. However, you can also turn off 360 shooting and use single lens mode, which lets you capture flat videos similar to what you would get from a traditional GoPro action camera. So right now we're shooting in single lens mode, and you can see my buddy here. So if I wanted to get a selfie, this is kind of the best that I can get. Let's go ahead and turn it over to 360 mode, and I'll show you the difference. Speaking of, for the first time in a long time, we're not getting a new GoPro Hero Black camera this year in 2025. But it kind of makes sense because when you're using single lens mode on the Max 2, it can take the place of a traditional action camera. If you're curious to how the Max 2 single lens mode compares to shooting with the GoPro Hero 13 Black, well, so am I. So we're shooting in it right now in a linear field of view in 4K 60. Here's what it looks like, and here's what it sounds like. So first of all, let's talk about what everyone cares about, the image quality. And here's where things get interesting. Look at these shots. They're all taken in 8K 360. Can you tell which one was taken with the GoPro Max 2, the Insta360 X5, and the DJI Osmo 360? I'll give you a hint. The Max 2 has true 8K video in 360, which is a boost from the 5.6K resolution of the original Max camera. Now, GoPro claims that Max 2 has 21% higher resolution than the competition because Max 2 is not upscaling or counting unusable pixels in its 8K resolution. Let's zoom into these shots. When I crop in and see the detail, the difference becomes clear. What do you think? Which camera has the best looking image quality? So when shooting in 360 mode, Max 2 can shoot at its max resolution of true 8K at 30 frames per second, or it can go down to 5.6K at 60 frames per second, or 4K at 100 frames per second. Out of the box, Max 2 has a max bitrate of 120, but here's where it can get crazy. If you enable GoPro Labs, you can push it to 300 megabits per second, which is the highest bitrate of any consumer 360 camera. The downside is that besides having to jump through a couple of extra hoops to enable it, these files are pretty massive. But if you care about image quality, the difference might be worth it. But besides video, the Max 2 can also shoot photos. You can get 29 megapixel 360 shots, and they also added burst and interval photo shooting. Besides high resolutions, the Max 2 also has enhanced color. Unlike the original Max, Max 2 has 10-bit color in both 360 and single lens mode, plus the option to shoot in GoPro Log for serious color grading in post. Here's the difference with and without color grading. And because it's log, you can customize the colors and overall style, so it's not at all obvious that it's being shot with a GoPro camera. Max 2 also has 5 digital lens options built in. There's Max Hyperview for that ultra-wide 180-degree field of view, Max Super View, ultra-wide, wide, and linear for that flat, non-fisheye look. You also get timecode sync, built-in GPS, and voice control. Plus, there are 360-degree time warp and time-lapse, now shooting in 8K, compared to just 5.6K on the original Max. So some of these features the competitors by DJI and Insta360 do have, but here's one thing that they don't have. Max 2 adds night effects shooting modes. These are pretty similar to what we see in the GoPro Hero 13. but you don't see them on the original Max camera or these competing 360 cameras. So within Max 2, you can capture star trails, light painting, and vehicle light trails after dark in up to 8K resolution. Insta360 does have a star-lapse mode, but no other night shooting modes, and DJI doesn't have any at all. With that said, you probably could make similar shots on Insta and DJI cameras, but you would have to manually adjust the settings. Max 2's preset night lapses take all the guesswork out of the settings, and the results can be a lot of fun. With that said, let's take a look at low light shooting in non-time-lapse mode. Can you guess which sample is shot by the Max 2, the Insta360 X5, and the Osmo 360? Here's a hint. While I think that it's great that GoPro added night lapse modes, they unfortunately didn't add any low light shooting modes for either 360 or single lens mode. This is also true for the GoPro Hero 13 Black and pretty much all GoPro models to date. Meanwhile, both Insta360 and DJI each comes with a dedicated low light shooting mode for 360 and single lens mode. On Insta, it's pure video mode, and on DJI, it's super night mode. Personally, I think that DJI's night footage looks the best here, even though I was restricted to only shooting in a wide FOV. The image is not only bright, but it's also sharper and less muddied compared to the X5, but both are definitely a lot better in low light than the Max 2 or the Hero 13. Now let's talk about audio. Max 2 has 6 built-in microphones and also the option to enable immersive 360-degree audio. You can also connect Bluetooth wireless mics to Max 2.
Alright, now we're filming with the GoPro Max 2, and we actually have Bluetooth audio. So we've got the DJI Mic 2 wirelessly connected via Bluetooth. It connected rather easily, and once it was connected, I can see audio levels, so I can verify that the mic is working properly.
And in single lens mode, there's a new audio field of view, which automatically focuses sound recording to match the direction of your lens. Alright, I went into the protein settings and I enabled the setting called Match Lens. And so when this happens, the camera prioritizes the audio coming from the lens that it's using because we are shooting in single lens mode. And so now that I'm using this back-facing camera, I can see big microphone right next to the lens there. And this is what happens if I flip the camera around so that it's facing the noise source and I'm now standing behind the camera. Physically, Max 2 is a nice size. It looks a lot like the Osmo 360, which just came out a couple months ago, but it's more square rather than rectangular. Max 2 weighs in at 195 grams, which is heavier than the Osmo 360's 183 grams, and slightly lighter than the Insta360 X5's 200 grams. On the bottom of the unit are the same mounts that we find on the GoPro Hero 13 Black. We've got a 1/4-20 hole, folding GoPro fingers, and GoPro's proprietary magnetic quick release mount. Max 2 also comes with 2 separate lens protectors that pop into place. They're really nice because if you're using single lens mode, you can keep one protector on to shield the side that's not being used. But I'll be honest, these caps are a bit small and I've already misplaced them several times while filming. On the back is a touchscreen with a menu layout that is very similar to the GoPro Hero Black cameras. On the side of Max 2 is a removable door which shields the USB-C charging and data transfer port, also the micro SD card slot. There's no built-in memory, unfortunately. And the battery. There's a 1960 mAh Enduro battery that is specific to Max 2. And so far, I've found it to last a pretty long time. I was out filming for about 4 hours, not continuously, but just in short increments. And I had about 52% battery left after doing that. Also, I have not yet experienced any overheating or freezing from this camera. It's been working really well. So let's talk about GoPro's 360 editing software, because realistically, you're going to spend a decent amount of time in editing. So you've got 3 main options. Number 1 is the Quik app for your smartphone, iOS, or Android, the desktop computer app called GoPro Player, or reframing plugins for popular editing software. So let's talk about the plugin first. There's a beta version of a plugin for DaVinci Resolve that helps you edit and reframe 360 footage in Resolve. I've downloaded it and installed it, but every time I click on it, it boots me out of the software. So admittedly, I am running beta versions of both DaVinci Resolve and the GoPro Reframe plugin. I'll make an update video once I'm able to figure it out. But in the meantime, since I largely prefer to edit on my computer, I've been using GoPro Player. So it's pretty straightforward. It's kind of like QuickTime Player. You just use it to open your 360 footage, but you can also adjust the angle, straighten the horizon, and add your keyframes to set the angle that you want in the final video. Then you export the 360 video as a flat video file. This simplicity can be an advantage if you're brand new to editing 360 footage because it helps you focus on your core tools. But it can be a little tricky to navigate. But with that said, if you're editing any 360 footage, there's going to be a learning curve. So you want to make sure to invest enough time to learn how to edit that 360 footage, especially if you're just getting started. But now let's go over to the GoPro Quik phone app because this is packed full of more editing features. So the GoPro Quik phone app, if you've ever used it before, it is still the same in that you can connect your GoPro camera and you can remote control it from afar with a preview, and you can also preview your footage that you've shot and import it into the app. So looking at this clip of me riding a scooter, I shot it in 360. So if I open it up, I see a button down here that says reframe. So if I tap it, now I see a bunch of options down below. There's keyframes, there's object tracking, motion frame, POV, and camera effects. And it gives you a little description down below about what each one does. So in this case, I want to use object tracking. All right, so now it's saying use your finger to draw a bounding box around an object you like to track. There we go. And now start tracking. Tracking in progress. So yeah, I see that immediately it straightened my horizon and it's keeping me in the center of the shot. This is great. This is actually going to save me so much time because before on the desktop editor, I was having to keyframe myself and switch out the angle every time to keep myself in the shot for the same clip. So this is much, much faster. So after it's done analyzing the footage, I now have some options that pop up. I can choose the style. I can go with auto. I can go with smooth low, smooth medium. Then I can also choose the lens. I can say custom, which is what I have right now, or I can go over to linear. I think I went linear because of this particular scene. There's a lot of straight lines that I want to make sure stay straight. Actually, wide is kind of nice. Oh, and yeah, if I ever want to adjust the exact angle, I just hold my finger down and, tap and drag. So another 360 editing feature that I want to test out is something called motion framing. So start recording. So I'm watching the playback, and as I'm doing that, I can move my phone to, as kind of like a cameraman in post-production, able to choose exactly where the camera is panning around. That's pretty neat, actually. That's more interactive than trying to use a mouse to like click and drag in post-production to pick out your angles. Next up, we have a section called POV, which helps you to adjust your POV footage if you shot any. I did not because I don't have a proper mount. GoPro is coming out with like a helmet mount or a hat mount, so you can mount the 360 camera to your head. It is different than trying to do it like with a flat action camera because that, you can put it straight here, but with 360, you kind of want to have it sticking up like this. You can capture everything around you. But point is, I wasn't able to capture that, so not able to test that feature out right now. But the last Quik app editing feature that I want to see is something called camera effects. So this lets you insert extra styles like a spin left, spin right, front flip, back flip, tiny planet, barrel roll. So basically 360 editing effects. You can insert them in post-production via this camera effects tab within the GoPro Quik app. But yeah, there's a quick preview of what you're seeing from the new GoPro Quik app for 360. But let's be real about the downsides, because there are definitely some things that I wish were different about the Max 2. First of all, no internal memory means that you're completely dependent on microSD cards. I also would have loved having battery compatibility with the GoPro Hero 13 Black, because again, this uses a specific Max 2 battery. Playback of 360 content in camera also does not let you preview the image in 360, like you can on the Osmo 360 and the Insta360 X5. Also, I wish that you could switch between front and back lenses in single lens mode without having to stop filming. Currently, only the X5 allows for this. Finally, the absence of a dedicated low light mode beyond time lapses feels like a missed opportunity, especially when many competing cameras are offering this not only in 360 cameras, but also their regular action cameras. So was Max 2 worth the wait, and should you buy it? As always, I think it depends on a few factors. Number one, if you're coming from the original Max camera, I do think that the image quality and UI upgrades are significant enough that it is worth the upgrade. Also, if you're already in the GoPro ecosystem and you've got something like a Hero Black camera or a lot of GoPro accessories, then these two could definitely work really well together to capture a wide variety of angles all at once. The colors would also match seamlessly, as would the whole menu system and UI experience. The only thing to note is that Max 2 is a little bit bigger than the GoPro Hero Black cameras, and also because it can shoot in single lens mode, this might start to be a redundant camera, so you might be able to streamline your whole gear kit and just shoot with a 360 camera like Max 2. However, if this is going to be your first 360 camera purchase, and or you already have cameras and gear from other brands like DJI or Insta360, then the decision-making process becomes a little more nuanced. I do have a full detailed comparison video that I'm working on. It should be out in a couple of days. That's going to deep dive into that question of which of these three 360 cameras is best. Right now, I still don't have a solid conclusion. You have to watch the video to find out. But I'll give you my key considerations at the moment. So GoPro continues to deliver top-of-the-line image quality with the Max 2. I think it's the sharpest and most natural-looking image quality out of the 360 cameras. And that removable lens without using tools or sending the camera in for repair is a pretty big advantage to going with the Max 2. However, the lack of a dedicated low-light shooting mode outside of night effects does feel like a missed opportunity in today's market. But whether that matters to you or not just depends on your needs, because not everyone is going to want to shoot 360 footage or action camera footage in low light. Along those lines, if you do want to know which of these 360 cameras is best for you, check out my detailed comparison in the description below. In the meantime, let me know your thoughts so far about Max 2. Do you think it was worth the wait? Are there any features that I didn't go over that you want more details on? Let me know in the comments. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.